Do 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 do. Okay, we're all set. Let's go. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to my stream. I'm Pierre, your host. I hope you're all doing okay this Wednesday. So, my friends, I think it's going to be a relatively short stream, but that's no reason not to get started. So let's do like we always do. Let's go over the computer. Let's very quickly check out of what we did yesterday, and then we'll start our day from there. So yesterday, what did we do? Well, basically, we decided that we were going to turn our canvas that we primed the day before around. We laid out a frame. We laid out basically what we wanted to do on our background, and we laid down the first coat of our background, one of the background colors that we're going to be using on this painting. So I must admit I cheated a little bit because I went, once we were off air, I waited, did all my editing to my movies to make the recap and whatnot. And then I decided I'd put a second coat of our background of this cobalt blue, that I would do that right away like that today. All we would have to do is kind of add the shadowing to this background and then add the next background color, at least the first coat on that. So that said, let me get this out of the way. And what I'm going to do now is just add a little bit of dark cobalt to make it a little bit darker and a little bit lighter on the bottom. And then we're going to add our background of our sky right after that. So here we go. Let's get the palette together. Let's get our faithful little knife. I mean, we're just going to be dabbing on this paint, so I'm not going to need an extremely amount of paint. Just a little bit of cobalt blue. I'm going to add just a hint of black paint to darken it a little bit. And then maybe I might add a little bit of cerulean blue as well, but just a little bit and very discreetly, just to make a little bit of a lighter shadow. So basically what we're going to be doing is down here is going to be land and mountains, and then this area here is going to be the sky. This is going to be space, and way on top is going to be the deep cosmos, the deeper space. So, got the knife cleaned off. Now what am I want to do? I said I would get just a little bit of black paint. There we go. And I knocked over my paintbrushes yesterday. And it looks like I almost knocked them off today as well. Why is that? Okay. So let's get this black paint together. Just a little dab of black. There we go. I'll just put a little bit on the side. I mean, I don't have much of a surface to do, so. Okay, let me make some room here. I have all the paints left over from last Friday, from when we finished our previous painting, and I won't be using all those colors right away, so might as well put them away and make some room. There we go. There we go, some breathing space. Very good. Even have tools here that I don't really need, but anyways. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's do the mixture. I don't want this to be too contrasted. Don't want it to be too dark as well. So I'm going to have to be careful how I mix the cobalt and the black. And for that, first of all, I'm going to find the right paintbrush that I'm going to be using. And it looks like to me this one here, well, there are a lot of hairs on the, oh yeah, that's because my brushes fell on the floor. That's why it's all dirty. Okay. So I think I'll be using this paintbrush right here. Let that soak for a few seconds. As I step back and take a look. Very good. Okay. So let me bring camera number 1 over, right over here, and I guess we can mix these colors together. So let me just switch cameras. There we go. And we'll bring this down. So there's my cobalt blue. There's a little bit of the black, and I did put some water there. So I'm going to first mix the water with the cobalt blue, just like that. And then just bring in a little bit of black. Start off with just a tiny little bit. Blend it all in together. Sure, it's all nice and homogeneous. Oh. I don't really have that much paint there, but I don't need that much, as I mentioned earlier. I think I'm going to just add, there we go, just a tip more of the black paint. I think that will be sufficiently dark. I have to keep in mind that as this paint dries, it has a tendency to darken even more, so that is something I definitely have to play with and keep in mind. So, there we go. So let's bring the camera up onto the canvas and see how all this looks. So I'll probably start off, let me put this off to an angle so I'm not standing in front of the lens, even though it will distort a little bit everything. Pull it back like that. Just zoom in more, right in this area, right in here. So let me try this out. So I think that's going to be just fine, keeping in mind that it is going to darken as it dries, like I just mentioned a few minutes ago. Go. Pull this back a little bit like that. Of course, there's a shine from the window, of course, on the wet paint. There we go. Okay, very good. So I'm going to just stop for a split second here, and I'm going to bring my fan over here and turn this on low speed just to make sure everything dries the way it should and keeps me cool as well. I can feel the heat already starting to creep in. Even though we're just on the verge of being October, it is still very warm here in southern France. Quite beautiful too, I must admit. Really just the perfect outdoors temperature. No tourists around either, so that's nice. Go to the beach and not having been totally crowded. Okay, so let me just step back for a second, take a look at that. Okay, so pull this back completely. So I have the darker shading on the top here, and then I'm going to put the lighter shading on the bottom. And for that, I'm just going to mix a little bit of cerulean blue, which is going to be this part here, but I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the cobalt because we're working on the shading part of the cobalt right now of our space, the final frontier. So I am looking for what? I am looking for a little palette where I'm going to be adding just a little bit of cobalt again. And then with this cobalt, I am basically going to be putting some cerulean blue. I really don't need that much either, even less than what I had a few seconds ago. And just out of curiosity, I am going to step back in my storage area back here and see if I have some more cerulean blue. Yes, no problem. I have tons of cobalt blue, tons of cerulean blue. Okay, very good. I couldn't remember if I had plenty or not, and apparently I do. Well, that's cool. So, got the cobalt done. Let's get the cerulean blue. I have some already opened right here. Just add this to the palette. Whoops, there we go. Splattered out of there. Okay. And before I continue, I am going to clean off my knife. Might as well stay with these good habits of keeping the materials clean. There we go. Okay, very good. So, got that cleaned off. I'm just stepping back because I want to make sure that the darker area is nice and dark. And it looks like it's going to darken up. Now, of course, when there's a lot of contrast on the camera, it looks great. But in real life, you want the shadowing to be rather subtle. I mean, you want it to be there, but to be subtle as well. So I have to be careful, and unfortunately, I can't just paint for the camera. I paint for my clients who see the thing live and in color. So keeping that in mind, I have to be careful. Okay, so let's mix these cerulean blue and cobalt blue together. I'll come back here to camera number 1 so we can do this again together right here. So the main color is going to be the cobalt. So I'm just going to have to be just add a little bit like I did with the black, but this time with the cobalt. I want the cobalt to be just a little bit lighter. It's just shadowing, of course. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was enough right there. Let me get rid of all the excess. There we go. So let's go back to our painting here. I'll zoom in this area right in here. Let's see if it works out the way we want it to. Start right in that area there, but first I'm going to come back over here and get rid of the excess water that's on my brush. There we go. And I'm going to try this out right now. So let's go back to number 1. Oh yeah, I just barely touched the canvas and I can see it being a lot lighter. So I'm going to take the excess paint off my brush this time, not just the water, but the actual paint, and try to go in with a dry brush. So let's check that out. Yes, there we go. With the dry brush, it's a lot more discreet. Again, keeping in mind that this also will darken as it dries. Okay, don't forget to pull the camera back, Pierre. Okay. Concentrating on the canvas and forgetting the camera. It's a no-no. There we go. So I'm already looking at this area that I did a few seconds ago, and I can see that it's drying up very dark, almost maybe too dark. So I'm just going to hold out a little bit and take a look at what we just did here, which seems to be a little bit lighter. So I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to just tap in. I'm going to try. I'm going to go back and do this area again with slightly lighter. I think that's going to work even better. Because right here, now that this area is dry, it is really dark. So here too, I'm going to go back over it with just a little bit more of the cerulean blue. Just like that. Hopefully, as it dries, it will look better. And I'm going to just move the camera over a little bit as we move on our canvas. And here as well, I'm going to zoom a little bit. That looks very light right there, but I still think it's going to darken a little bit when it dries. Let's see. I mean, if it's too light, it's no problem, because I'll just go over it with some cobalt, right? No big deal. And there are going to be a lot of details on top of all this area here as well, so I shouldn't panic too much. So I'm coming back a little bit back to what we did earlier here, and this area here is drying where you can see definitely it's a little bit lighter. Here it has a tendency to darken a little bit, but still you can see it discreetly. Over here, though, it seems to be a little bit too light. I'm going to leave it. Why not? Even add some shadowing, maybe a little higher up, like right in here, just a little bit. Right there. Just a little bit right here, just a hint. Back up here. A little hint right in here. Then maybe right in here. Right in here, a little hint as well. Not much, just like that, just a little. There you go. So that's pretty good. I'm going to leave that like that because as it dries, it looks pretty good, really. Frankly, I don't know how it looks on the camera or how it comes across on YouTube, but in real life, it looks just right. Not too obvious, not too overwhelming. And the dark the same. As it dries, it blends in beautifully. Some areas you can still see it very strongly, but that's because the paint is still very thick and very wet right up in this area. But anyways, so pull the camera back a little bit. Now I'm going to put the first coat of our background on this area here. And then tomorrow I'm going to have to draw the next part. And we're going to do this layer by layer, little by little, I guess. I'm still not sure really what I want to put here. I have an idea of several ideas, but I'm not sure. I'll see how I feel. See how I feel tomorrow. And that's when we'll draw first what we want. Maybe put some tape over it to mask it as we do the rest. We'll see. Take this one step at a time. And right now, my next step is getting the cerulean blue together. So here's a nice clean palette. I guess I can use this. Very good. So I'm going to use, I guess, the same paintbrush. I'm going to have to put two coats, obviously, but I'm going to use the same paintbrush that I used for that 2 coats of cobalt. Seemed to have worked very well for me, so I might as well use that again. I'll pour in. So maybe today I'll do like I did yesterday, cheat a little bit. I don't like doing that. Usually if I do one solid background color, we stop and the next day we do the second coat and we stop for the day after. But yesterday, as I mentioned earlier, I cheated a little bit and I put the second coat on after the stream had been stopped, after I did my editing, let's say 45 to an hour later. And I think I'll do the same thing today. I'll put on the first coat, go do all my stuff when the streaming is done, come back and add that second coat. It'll give us a jump start on tomorrow as well. So, that said, let me just add some water to our cobalt blue. I'll grab a little bit more right here like that. I don't know. Do I want to go in front of camera number 1 to blend this? It's only water and paint. Quite frankly, it's not that exciting or thrilling, so I don't think I'll do that. What I will do though is go to these double cameras just to show off. Like that, you'll have 2 angles of myself. Now that isn't exciting. I don't know what is. There we go. So I'm probably going to need more water than this. The reason I have to put 2 coats on is because you can see the brush strokes very clearly when the paint dries. So if you want a nice solid color as a background, well, you have to put 2 coats. And with certain colors like orange or azo yellow, you sometimes a 3rd coat can be useful as well. So there we go. Now, did I make enough here? I don't have that much of a surface, but a pretty good amount. Okay, I'm going to start with this. It should be okay. So I want to screw this up. So where am I going to go? I'm going to go right there. So I'll bring this baby over here like this. I'll zoom in a little bit. Just like that. Okay, so I'll switch to camera number 1. And oh. Very good. They give everything the movement of the cosmos. That cosmic ballet. Very nice. Again, this is just the first coat of our background. So that's when we call it quits for the day as well. I cannot go any further until this section is all done. So let me bring the camera down for this next part. And actually, I just had a great idea. I'll bring my chair out. How about that? Bring my chair out, get a little dab of water in my paint. Not sure I'm going to have enough, but it doesn't matter. I'll just make some more, and I'm comfortable as hell right now. That's pretty cool. Oh. I don't know what that was. There we go. This is just to give us an idea. Step back, take a look. That is basically what we are doing today. And of course, a few things will have to be rectified. We're going to come back and do a few things later. There we go. So, that is where we are at. Well, I'm just looking at this area here that we did, and it is perfect. Quite frankly, it's awesome. You can tell the cobalt is the dominating background, a little bit darker here because all this area here is going to be super dark. So it's going to blend in beautifully. Here it's a little bit lighter on our cobalt, which is going to go to our sky. So pretty good, pretty good. Just step back out of the way for a second. Quickly go to camera number 1. And that's basically what it looks as well. So that is it for today. A 33-minute stream. Can't make it shorter than that. I'll just step out of the way one more time. And until that's dry and I put in that second coat, I can't go do any more right now. So that is where we are at. So tomorrow we will continue. I want to thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this short stream. I hope as well you'll join me next tomorrow. I was going to say next week. And tomorrow is Thursday. And I usually do my stream in French. Though I'll tell you a little secret, I've been forgetting to do it in French for the last several weeks. But my friends haven't bitched about it, so what the hell? If I forget, I forget. If I don't, I don't. I basically do have to think about what I'm doing on the canvas more than what language my stream is in. But anyways, I want to thank you once again. And like usual, I'm going to leave you with 2 things. I'm going to leave you with my schedule, which is pretty simple, and by saying, ciao, mes amis.